What up, what up, what up, what up, world? Tap. I'm Khepresh, representing the Millionaires Crew Club. Today, we have a brilliant brother by the name of Walter on the line with us today. You know, he's incredibly smart and he's funny. He's light skinned, but he's hella black. And it's good to have him here. But most importantly, he's just genius at what he does. So, regardless of whatever your cultural reference is, this is the man with the plan for you. As always, life is art. So, welcome to our Art Basel podcast for the Millionaires Crew Club. We're going to go right in. Sir, state your name and where are you from?
All right. My name is Walter Greene. I'm from Scotch Plains, New Jersey, by the way of the Bronx. I moved to New Jersey when I was about 3. So that's where my real journey begins, for lack of a better phrase. I did all my growing in the Union County area, graduated from Rider University in 1999, and I'm pretty sure the rest of my life journey we'll get into.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. So, what inspired you? Guess my first question is this is important. What inspired you to start the career that you're
Money.
in? So,
If
or
anybody tells you anything different, they have got to be lying or they're trying to trick you. Money is the only reason why anybody would venture down this road because it is so daunting at times. Initially, when I got onto the road of finance, I was working at educational testing service and I just found out that my now wife was pregnant with our first child. So I needed money. I knew that obviously because, we sort of had a similar life crossing it for this story. But one day I applied for a job at a brokerage firm that was close to where I worked at the time. And on a lunch break, I just went over there for an interview and came right back and finished up working. I didn't book it, but I did get a call back a few weeks later and they were like, come back in. We want to interview you for another position. And I said, fine. So situation, I went over there on my lunch break and I got a call back a few days later saying, that I had booked it. So, it wasn't anything major. It was a regular service area at a brokerage firm. The one that I got into, though, was a little bit atypical than most because it kind of ties into what I do now. Basically, the service area that I was in operated solely with death claims. Now, there wasn't any life insurance involved. However, it was all brokerage. So, it was all regarding like stocks, bonds, and things like that. Now,
okay.
because I was in that unique position, and I was excelling at my job, obviously, I was afforded the opportunity to take a lot of the FINRA required tests, meaning the Series 7 and the 66, even though technically they weren't part of my job description. It was kind of like a little what because I was doing so well. Now, while I was in these positions, I was learning a lot for myself. So ultimately I was like, well, okay, I don't want to go into sales, but there is another aspect of this. So in that regard, I thought I could actually manage these people. So that kicked me up another notch where for the sort of trading platform that I was on was the Series 9 and Series 10, the general management and the one for the options principal manager. So that was great because that opened up another branch of things that I could actually do. So while I was there, I took on another role as a supervision principal, and it was kind of along that exact idea of what you would think. But basically what I did was all the onboarding
Okay.
for the associates, for the new hires and all of their maintenance. So if their CE was coming due, if there were any disclosures or anything like that, they would come to me and then I would sort of regulate their inquiries to wherever they needed to go and then just maintain their file for when, we had our supervision reviews and things like that. That just wasn't really the way. I was very unhappy, although the money was decent enough. So I branched off and I started working at this firm called Crestmont Investments. I didn't mean to name drop that, so I'm sure we can edit that out if I just say I branched off and started working at another firm. And basically, with this new firm that I went to, it was all about just raising capital for any kind of fund, whether it was an expansion of a business, if they had a product that they were trying to reach out to, whatever they needed money for, they came to us to see if we could actually help them locate someone that was willing to set them up. And that was good. However, if you're not getting the deal flow, or just the good deals, businesses that are soundly footed, then you don't really get that much of a response. So while we were able to find buyers for the lenders for the ones that we were able to get, it just wasn't a sound structure. So while all of that, we were wrapping up our final sale, I got a call or an email, I don't remember at this time, to New York Life. And that's kind of like that's where I've landed. And that's really where my journey began as far as me really being involved in my own financial future, as well as those of others. I hope I didn't manipulate your question too much, but I think I kind of landed on what we were going for.
Yeah, I think you stated it well. Um, I do like the fact that you were honest about why you started your path. I think a lot of people sometimes make up why they started their path. I didn't start my path for money. I must admit, I was more ego driven to just prove a point. So I guess that's like money, but I wanted to prove a point that I could, you know, take my skills and make something of it and create my own brand. So I didn't know how the money was come because it was so new at the time. But once, shirts start being made and, your logo, you create your logo and get all that paperwork taken care of and things of that nature, trademark. For me, it was just more the vision of it all, like the
Right,
start of it for me. But the money did come in a good like second or third, so I agree. I'm not going to front on anybody like and give them no weird like mystical proverb about that. But for me, it was definitely probably like I just wanted to see if my vision could take flight, and then
okay,
because I didn't have, but you had a wife about to have a child, so you going like, where's the bread at? And you got to respect.
right.
So definitely, I no, I just really respect you saying that though, because people sometimes be like, I had twins on the way, but I had this fantasy of it. I'd be like, no, you got twins on the way, so you're making that move.
Yeah,
You're making that move. It ain't got nothing to do with the I seen the mist in the clouds kind of thing. It was really like,
and through the firmament.
right. The bush spoke to me. Oh no, those two babies in the womb was like, we need to eat when we come out. So I really respect that. Like you
Right,
saying,
exactly.
not mystifying real world things that we need to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think sometimes people try to go way left when you just need to be like, no, this was this, this was that, and this was that. So I
Right.
really appreciate you just stating your flat truth.
And no problem. But to give a little context, now this is my first daughter was born in December 4th, 2004. Now, when I was working at ETS, I was making about $32,000 a year, right? So when I went to the brokerage firm, I actually took a pay cut because moving from that company to the other one actually had money coming in. Where I was stagnant. I had probably um a salary increase of about $1,000 in like a 4-year span of time. And I was like, I can't feed another person with this. So while I did in fact take the pay cut, ultimately within the first few months of me being in the new position, just with overtime and what have you, I was able to sort of already go beyond that. So there was a small leap of faith, but in all honesty, I was still looking towards the money. You
Good,
know what
good,
I
good.
mean?
Yeah. So
But
you had belief in
just
your
so
ability. What you're
right,
saying, you had belief in your ability to put yourself in a position, even though it is a pay cut, it puts you in a better threshold to move forward. Like sometimes when I
right,
speak to young people, they go like, I need the most money. I'd be like, no, you need the most opportunities for you to make the most money. So
Exactly.
sometimes, like you see it online, people don't want to do what they do, but they also don't want to sacrifice a little bit to position themselves to catapult where they need to be. So I think that's what you're stating.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it
Yep.
was like,
Yeah, and
go
well,
ahead.
and in that avenue, what I encounter when I talk to people now, because when I talk to a business owner, and I'm not sure how closely you follow my posts all the time on Facebook, but when I talk to a business owner and say, well, let me help you, and they're like, oh no, I don't have any money. I didn't set a price for anything, you know, and people are, and I guess that's sort of me as well. They're so blinded by the fact that money, 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 that they create this illusion in their mind that something happened that didn't, you know. And I actually spoke to my cousin yesterday because I didn't know this, and I'm in finance. But did you know people are still charging you to have bank accounts? I didn't know that. Um,
Mm.
it was so bizarre because she was like, well, that's one of the reasons why I won't get a why I won't start. She owns a daycare. Why don't have a retirement plan for my associates because I can't afford to have that. I'm like, well, I didn't say it was going to cost you anything. So, that's one of the things that we have to sort of understand in this business is that a lot of people don't really know what we do. And in that same avenue, I just, in my financial situation, I really don't identify financially that closely with people in that position where they're being charged by a bank. So I have to be very cautious when I navigate these conversations because although I think that we're operating from the same united experience, I've learned that we all do not. And I have to be very cognizant of that because when I start telling people, well, if you have $50,000 in your account, they won't charge you. They're like 50,000. If I have $50,000, I'd be X, Y, and Z. I'm just like, oh, you're right. So it is a learning experience for me as well. But it's worth it because if I can give them this information, then everybody will be in a better position.
Right. I think it's true. Like I know what I'm gonna say is kind of crazy, but what I've realized how people view money is it's kind of wild to me. Like the scarcity of it. They're scared of it. Like you saying like 50K ain't really no money.
To us. But
Yes,
we have to be
granted,
mindful of that.
granted, we do have to be, but what I'm saying is like because money can come in and come out at a crazy threshold as long as you're I guess ultimately what I'm saying, like anybody listening to this, I want you to keep focusing on positioning yourself to always be able your skills or your ability, your thought, what matters, to position yourself to understand that when you have a particular skill and particular thought and you have a particular discipline at what you do, you can always create more money for yourself. Meaning like I always just think there's always people like yourself that would help people get in much better financial positions if they just put themselves in a position to get the information and to take the counseling or the mentorship or what have you.
Right. And I think the history of money in this country for Black people is so strained that that takes a lot of unpacking as well, because you have to understand the nature of the people that had no money but somehow became valuable. You know what I mean? So once they got money, they were like, well, I'm never going to let go of this. And then there were some people that actually ventured out to do these things and ended up getting hustled. So there are a lot of barriers and a lot of bad experiences that I do have to navigate around. But that's why I started with my center of influence the way that I did, because these people know me. And ultimately, if I burn this bridge, not only am I burning it financially, but I'm burning it emotionally. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? I'm burning it in the fact that, I can't sit at certain tables with my family. So I want to make sure that, if I did them right, they'll at least they'll tell people about me, which surprisingly is not really the case. So when you're in this game, the people closest to you are most likely the least to support you. And that's something you have to learn very early and not take personally.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And it's okay if you don't want to operate with me right now. That's fine. However, at least let me run my pitch on you. Tell me what I can tighten up.
Right.
That's
Like
how you can help me.
I want to speak to that real quick.
If you can't give me the money, at least give me the experience, please.
Yeah.
Oh, go
Like
ahead. I think you
I
said you want to
always
speak
tell
to it.
people, like your number one worst fan is going to be family and friends. They are your worst fans. And we're talking about
Yep.
people that you thought would give the shirt off of their back for you, or you would give the shirt off of your back for them. But when it comes to your own business venture, your own entrepreneurial goals and settings, and you can literally sell something for $30. No, let's drop it. You can literally sell something for $10. They will not buy it. They will begin to buy it when other people start saying, wow, this guy, this girl is good. You heard of them? They're going like, oh, well, that's my cousin. And then so you're gonna get one or
Hmm.
two calls. One or two calls. Hey, your cousin, heard you out here with this ebook that's $10 and it's really helping people. Yo, send me that for free. Or you will get the free.
Crazy.
Then it's going to be that one family member that's like in the outskirts that you never speak to. You only see each other at the cookout, who actually just buy it and represent.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, that's my cousin. But the ones like your first set, it's very interesting how that goes. So if you're listening to this, don't let that stop your path of greatness, because yes, you would think family is the first community, but actually, family is the last community to go to with your genius. Because sometimes I believe that they still see you as that 7-year old with a water gun at the cookout, that 10-year old making jokes on your drunk uncle or something like that. So in their mind, you're still a child, but to the world, you are a grown adult. So I think that might be some of the hesitation, or it's it's um it's it's the case of, oh, you doing that, but I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to do, because people doing their purpose tend to help other people doing their purpose. So it could be a juggle of things, but I'm glad you mentioned that for the people listening, that sometimes our family circle are the last fans to come on. You know what I mean? The last ones to rave about us. So it's cool. But we're gonna move on.
Right.
Well,
Well, hold on. I
yeah.
do want to give one more thing because you,
Oh, for
you you
sure.
reminded me,
Sure.
and I thought you were gonna hit it, but you left it there. So I want to eat like Pac-Man.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
just
Home
to
run
add
it.
on,
Home run it.
just to add on to your point, if you're selling something for $10, right, and somebody else is selling something for $10, your family will go to the other person because you didn't sell to them for 9. You know what I'm saying? So, okay,
That's so true.
but I mean, and you can unpack that. I don't want to, because we need to shift. And one other thing that I just want to add on this, because I think it fits, is that when you start doing your own thing, people, it makes them uncomfortable because they say, well, how could he possibly be successful at this? I got this through my job. So there's teams and teams of people that are doing this. There's no way that he can be doing this by himself. And that uneasiness is what lends them to not want to operate with you. So, like, in that regard, working with strangers is kind of better, you know? But
Yeah.
that's all. I want to make sure that I got that out because,
Now
I
I'm
wasn't
glad
going to
that's
leave
a
that alone because that has happened.
that's that's a Barry Bonds home run pre steroids right there. You know,
Cool, cool, cool.
it's a Hall of Fame
Crazy.
statement for sure. Um, Man, that's deep. Y'all think about that. So when you're feeling discouraged because your family's not looking out for you, I want you to know family ain't looking out for nobody. And anybody who has that, they've been blessed with the gift of the gods. Period. Like anybody who family support them, they have been blessed with the gift of the gods. Like they are bound
Facts.
to just soar through a lot faster. You know what I mean? Like, you know how many people, like, Like when Jay-Z tells the story, his mom brought him a boom box so he can practice. She didn't interrupt him. She didn't say, don't curse in my house. She just let him be, perform, get great at it. A lot of y'all would never get that because your parents would be like, I don't like that music. I don't want you doing it, even though you had an innate talent. So you had to take longer. Like a lot of people had to take the longer path just due to the fact. And so I just use that as an example. Like when you have family that support, it's key.
And just and you keep bringing up such great points, and I don't want you to leave out anything.
Yeah.
So I want to also toss into this, like when Jay-Z was younger, coming up, because he's a lot older than me, but like hip hop was still the same age. So ultimately, you have to understand how parents were acting at that point. They were acting as if hip hop was destroyed. They had churches with bulldozers driving over CDs and cassettes. So like for his mother to be supportive at that point, that was dynamic. And that's probably one of the reasons why he's so successful, because he was able to flourish when everybody else around him was in turmoil. He at least had that safe space where he can be like, all right, let me just go in here and do my, I'm not going to say art because I'm sure he wasn't thinking of it like that, but let me be creative, let me release, let me do whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have that. And I grew up in the freaking suburbs. My parents always told me to shut up when I was rapping. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
You have to respect that, you know, because
nah,
that's deep. But other
that's
people don't
major.
understand. Rap was hated. Rap
Right.
was not on commercials. Like you can hear rap now all the time. That was not the case. You have to wait for Rap Attack.
Yes. 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 If it
You have
wasn't
to
for
wait for
like
Mr. Magic. Like you couldn't
yeah.
just turn on the radio and rap was there.
If it wasn't for like
You know,
Ralph
you have to wait
McDaniel's
for
video
4 o'clock
music
MTV
box,
Raps. You had 1 hour a day. Yes, fam. They don't
one
understand.
1 hour, like people don't really know. Like, so when I use that as an example, she giving him the space in a time when rap is just like crazy. Like people think it was always poppy like this. No, no. And we talking like the 80s for him. No. That just was not the case. It was considered a fad. They say rap wouldn't last more than 10 to 15 years. And so,
Check this out.
yeah.
Hot 97 or 97.1, whatever. It was like a country station. Like when I was like 1990 or 92, I forgot. Whenever it jumped off, like I went to my boy's house, we were getting ready to walk to school, and he had a Hot 97. I was like, Hot 97, that hillbilly nonsense, or 97. But I don't know if it was called Hot 97. I don't know when they did that transition, but I was like, they play country music. Why are you listening? And then I was like, yo, that's the Bob Ed Lover. What?
Na, na,
I
na,
was like, okay,
na,
right,
na, na, na,
right.
yeah.
You know, Ed Lover, Dr. Dre, Lisa G. You know, so this is all very, and Hot 97, I said it all to say Hot 97 was one of the bigger, you know, still radio stations on in this particular area. And that was like in 1992. So it really wasn't that long ago. It's not like a century old station. No, you know what I'm saying? It's younger than I am, and I'm a pretty young guy.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's really true. It's really true, and it shows, shout out to the men and women that allowed their poetic genius to create their poetic genius and style in the areas that they are from to create such a culture that has been able to make millionaires. You have realized a fad culture has been able to create probably more millionaires in a short period of time because it hasn't been that long. Hasn't been that long. Than maybe any other genre of music, I would guess. Like you're just creating multi-millionaires. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Truly, truly. And
Truly
social
is.
media, oh my goodness, the sky is the limit.
Yeah. Social media has made everything accessible, whether good or bad, but the sky's still the
Oh,
limit.
Joe.
The sky's
Yeah,
still
true
the limit.
story, true story.
Yeah. So
I lean on the sign of positivity, but no, I understand your apprehension.
yeah, I think having the opportunity to do something in a particular field and do it honorably is the hardest thing for most people because everybody is in a microwave state, right? Like I'm more of an oven guy. Like I'm gonna put the seasoning on my stuff. It's
Get
gonna be
some
cooked.
crisp on that.
Right, right. The skin gonna be crisp. It's gonna cut nice. It's gonna be moist, and then you gonna go like, "Yo, this is what it's about." But if you can get the same payout to do less and to give a lower quality, most people always pick the lower quality, but they tend to lose longevity by picking the lower quality.
Right. And
So,
one thing you have to understand, and it's, and I don't want to overspeak on this, but it is rather important. When you're dealing with like insurance, it's all a numbers game. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. The company is betting against you. We're betting that you're gonna stop paying your policies. We're betting that you're gonna die at X, Y, and Z age. We're betting that you're not going to go to your doctors for your appointments. We're betting that you're not going to take your medications. We're betting on all of these things against you in order to squeeze as much money out of you for as long as possible. Now, the thing about that is if it does, well, when it does turn into something profitable, well, those stories that you just outlined about, treating people poorly, those come back to haunt you. When these people come to cash out, they're gonna be like, okay, well, yeah, let's get another policy. No, thank you. I'm gonna go elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be, so you're not doing yourself a service by trying to get the money quickly. Get the money, but get it at a time frame that's appropriate. You know what I'm saying? Because by you rushing, what you're telling me ultimately and to the client is you've made some poor financial decisions in your past and you need quick cash. Why should I entrust you with my cash now if your own house is in disarray? you know so when people are pushy, it's very obvious to me that they're trying to get this money as quickly as they can for whatever reason. It could be personal, it could be their bosses on their back or whatever, but that's not my concern, not my business, and I don't care. I want to do this on my time. I want to do it at my leisure, and to quote Menace to Society, I'll pay your monkey ass when I pay your monkey ass. So
I like it. I like it a
and
lot,
that's where
boy.
you have to be. That's the only way that this thing works.
Yeah, true, 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 true indeed.
So,
So,
but hold on. In all fairness, the guy that said that in Menace, he did get shot. But
yeah.
again,
No,
so you gotta take that risk.
you talking about doing things in accordance to proper time and with proper
Right,
effort and proper respect of the craft and proper respect of the consumer using your craft. And I think
right,
once we lose like proper respect for what we do, it's bound to crush you in the future. Like you can't sustain. There's a reason why
right,
certain people have longevity and certain people they got a 1 to 5 year bang and then that's it. And then they go into
right.
obscurity. And so the goal is always longevity, but you only get longevity by chefing your thing up right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
For sure. So what are
Precisely.
two of your favorite books and why do you think other people should read them?
All right. So I think I measure my reading a little differently. So, I'm gonna tell you my two, and then, if that doesn't land, then I have a backup. Okay.
Okay.
So I came locked and loaded with
Give
four
us all
books.
three. Give us all
Well,
three.
four.
All four.
Okay.
I want all four. I
Yeah.
want all four.
All right. So and walk with me because I think that this needs to be addressed.
Okay.
So all right. So the first book is The Color Purple. And I think everybody should read it just for a few simple reasons. If you watch the movie, then obviously why not read the book? Okay. But the Danny Glover character, with who I'm pretty sure everybody still hates to this day, in the books, he wasn't as black and white. You know what I mean? In the book, there was a lot more nuance. When Sophia got locked up, like he was part of this that helped get her out. It wasn't discussed in the movie, but the book brings that to light. So all in all, within the book, he was still a bad person. However, there was a level of civility to him, just considering where they all were and how they all seemingly still had to navigate in the same situations. So even with that, he was still a part of it. And I think that the movie lost sight of that until like the very end when they did a little tidbit about him helping her get the kid. But ultimately, what they tried to shine on that was he was just trying to do that to get his karma realigned. And I don't think that was fair. But ultimately, that's so reading The Color Purple is something that I really think that a lot of people could sort of take a little bit more back out of. But that is what it is. That's my opinion.
No,
Don't
no,
at me.
I wanna jump in on that. I always thought that because we had to read that. I think you are one of the first people I spoke to in a very long time to mention such a good book and to mention those nuances of the time of um what a particular character was going through, but you see it in the hood all the time too. You see those
Yep.
nuances like that. It's very brilliantly written. So if you haven't read it and you've only ever seen the movie, I do suggest that you pick that Color Purple book up. It's a lot more than than what meets the eyes for sure.
Okay. And the other one, and I haven't finished it, but it is very interesting, and I think it's worth the read just because of it really does give a very clear view of the timeline of events. But it's The Poison City, and The Poison City, Flint's Water, and the urban American urban tragedy by Anna Clark. Now, basically, it gives a timeline of events about how the entire Flint water situation kind of trickled down. Wow, no pun intended. But it is very interesting because when you look at it like this and you see that every single power that be was against this city, and it's really disgusting, but it deserves your attention from a reading perspective to see how these things actually transpired, because there's going to be another Flint, and you don't want to be in that. So you need to make sure that you're mindful of all these little things that your city and your local municipalities are doing that affect you directly. And if you can't put your face in the position of people that are in bad positions, then you don't have the empathy anyway. But you really should try to see yourself in this situation. It's easy to say don't live in Flint. Like we discussed earlier, financial situations are different for different people. Like if I was in Flint and I saw what was going on, I would move. You know what I'm saying? But not everybody can do that. And it's very important to recognize that the people that stay are there for an obvious reason. So not only are they disenfranchised, underemployed, or whatever, but their city is attacking them. And that's something that you have to conceptualize. Your city attacked you for being poor. They would never have done this to communities that had money. Never in a million years. And it's very important that you call them out on that. So read the stories and make sure that when you're up there posting about well, X, Y, and Z happened today and Flint still doesn't have clean water. Like that's corny to me. Like do your research and understand how it happened and make sure it never happens again. We still need to clean them up, but this does not spread.
Right.
Not on
So
my watch.
repeat the name of the book and the author for us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll do it properly this time. The Poison City, Flint's Water, and the American Urban Tragedy. It's so verbose, but but I do have the book.
No, no, it's good. I see it. I see it. We see it. We appreciate that. Thank you. We appreciate that
So
because
no problem.
that's definitely gonna touch the soul. No, I have not read that. This is my first time hearing about it, but I'm definitely going to Amazon it out. So I would like to read that too because I think it demonstrates how you may not believe in politics, but politics are gonna affect you,
Exactly.
especially in
And
the local level. Like everybody always be like, I don't care what they do until you have to care what was being done. And I think that's a good representation. Hmm.
right. And just to prep. So I had made a post a while ago. I mentioned Facebook like 30 times in this, but I do dance on there a lot. But I had made a post about something. And I forgot what it was, but my old dean from Rider University, he said, it has something, I forgot, it has something to do with reading, but ultimately he said, I got a book for you. And I was like, copy. So I drove up there on my lunch break one day, picked up the book. So I got it for free. I say all this to say the person that wrote this book is not a sister. So like, if you are going to go to Amazon and buy one, just try to see if a sister has a perspective also.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Like I just think some,
Already got the white lady covered. So
yeah, that's cool. I'll look for both, but sometimes knowledge and the spreading of information can come from any direction
right.
that it needs to come from. Cause
No,
true.
I just want to make sure that whenever I tell somebody to read a book, I
Uh,
always I'm like, okay, this is not our voice. You know what I'm saying?
cool. Yeah,
Because
for
that is
sure.
important.
For sure, absolutely, absolutely. But I was just stating that knowledge have to break through, regardless of who is like coming from to guide others into an understanding of what's
Right.
happening to a position that they may not have been aware of or consciously just neglected, right? Because sometimes
Okay.
people consciously neglect what's happening around them all
Right.
the time, going like, "Oh well, it's not me." I think that's gonna be them 2 blocks over, not realizing you only live 2 blocks away. So everything
Right.
happens, like we live in an
Yep.
interesting society where people can go like, "Oh, well, that's dumb." 4 blocks down, and you're going like, 4 blocks is what is that, a 10-minute walk?
That's
So
still kind of close, right?
close. It's close. It's gonna affect you, but yeah, definitely. I definitely always like both perspective on things,
Right.
especially with information dealing with our water supply. You live in America. It should be almost impossible that we have any water supply in America affected like that. And I really
Right.
mean that. Just the amount of money we spend on,
Yep.
warfare and other things.
Yep.
You know, yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah, that's tough.
All
What
right.
what was your
So,
other joints that you had?
all right. Now, these are these were softballs. Okay, these are
Well,
great foods. So I did try to. You said no one talked about color purple, so I did want to sort of think outside of the box when I was picking my books. So that's why I have four. So this is just the way my mind operates. So the first is the autobiography. Of course, I don't think I need to explain that. Do I?
no,
Okay. And the second one is I am not your Negro. I don't
oh,
think I need to explain that.
no, you do not. So,
Okay. So I came prepared. Okay.
so you're talking about the autobiography of Malcolm X, and
Copy.
I am not your Negro. Autobiography of Malcolm X changed my whole existence at 13. Then it changed my whole planetary alignment at 17. Then it changed my whole
Okay.
trajectory at like 21, 22. So like you got to read the autobiography, different phases of your life. I said, you
Right.
know, I'm pushing 40, G. So I said I'm gonna read it on my 40th, and just to
Right.
see, like the transition of his life, and now in my transition of life and movement too. Because
Right.
it's different. Like you felt the fire side of him, but now as you get older, you feel the more so the disciplined side of him, the evolutionary side, his ability to learn and grow side. So it's just beautiful. I can't wait to reread that. Yes, I've read this one particular book going on like 4 or 5 times. It's so good.
And and the reason I never you will never catch me saying the autobiography of Malcolm X just because it's the
It
autobiography.
is. It is the
That is the
autobiography.
autobiography
Yeah.
that you have to read.
Right.
And because nobody else's autobiography does what his does, you know.
Now that is
So
true.
every auto, I'm sorry.
That is true. That's how I knew what you were saying when you was just like, it's the autobiography. I said, he's definitely talking about Malcolm X. I read autobiographies. I'm reading a good one now about Rockefeller called Titan.
Okay, I haven't read
And
that one.
I just like biographies and autobiographies. So I guess it's a biography. But nothing is like the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Exactly,
I'm sorry.
exactly.
It is the
Capital.
autobiography. I don't care who you were, what stage in time you were in, where you come from. If you were the first human being to take 2 steps on the planet out of ever, it is still the autobiography Malcolm X is number one. No doubt about that. I don't care where we go in the world, 300 years from now, uno. I don't know how many languages to say this. Uno, un. But
Sort of like
yeah.
sort of like DJ Khaled, another one. Like if you go for autobiographies, Malcolm X is the one that we're all going back to. That's there is no another one on that one because his is the one that all others are built off of copy.
For sure, for sure. Shout out to Alex Haley and Malcolm X giving him the time during a very pinnacle part of his life to write that. Like you got to
Yeah,
realize what Malcolm X was going through, and that shows the fortitude of that man. So I always like to give Malcolm X, El Haj Malik El Shabazz, his glory with having the dedication and discipline and the wherewithal to know that it had to be done. That's God
right.
level forethought right there. I ain't gonna let nobody
Exactly.
tell my story. I'm gonna tell it, and I think that's really powerful.
And another thing that's very interesting about this because his early story is filled with well, okay, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is say ultimately the FBI was going to get this information out. And the fact that it was documented was just like, listen, I'll tell my own dirt. And here's what's happening. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So before you hear it from them, hear it from me first. And then if I give you the story, you'll kind of understand why and what would you do in this situation. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And I think that's very important because that's ultimately what I think is kind of like why there was such a big draw for me to read it. Because well, I'm like, well, let's find out. Let's find out how he got to where he was. So basically, when I read it, I went it as a blank slate. I had no preconceived notions. I was Malcolm X neutral. And by the time I got to like chapter 3, I was like, you dirty dogs, what are y'all gonna do now? And it's and so it really does lend itself to end for anybody to understand. Just the progression. Nobody starts from life as this person that you see before them. Something cultivated them and created this person, good or bad, before you, and that needs to be understood before you could actually interact with them in any engaging and positive or whatever way.
Yeah. Yeah. It really teaches you to give people life, people around you grace.
Exactly.
Ultimately, grace. Like you
Grace.
read certain things and you look at a person, you might not like what they do, but you give a bit of grace because you don't know what it stems from or what they're stemming from that's causing this reaction. So yeah,
Right.
it's cool. It is cool. So what would you tell your 18-year-old self with the information you have today?
All right. So, what I would tell my 18-year-old self. I know people would like to say something silly like buy Amazon stock and Netflix, but that's kind of a bit short-sighted. Of course, you'd be rich beyond your wildest dreams, but if you don't manage your life properly, none of it's really worth it. So, money off the table. We could always bring it back if you want, but I don't think it's worth it. But money off the table. If I'm speaking to my teenage self, that I actually care about and would like to see, this person develop and grow up, I would tell him that your life is just starting. At 18, I felt so much pressure to know what I was going to be or where I was going to go, that I was a constant ball of anxiety because I didn't. Okay. So that being said, I've been having conversations with people, they would say, oh yeah, look at him. He's a businessman and yada, yada, yada. So like that kind of steered me into that direction. But to be perfectly honest, up until that point, the best grades that I ever got were in science, like even in college, like I'm taking all these business courses and what have you, and I'm taking science classes as my electives. And people are like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, it's an easy A. Why not?" You know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, well, you can take like baking. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to cook though. You know what I'm saying? So one of those things. So even in that avenue, when you know, as me telling this to an 18-year-old, and I'm graduating college and moving forward, and not really even being deep into finance until I was well into my 30s. I could have been that doctor that I thought that I couldn't have been earlier. You know what I'm saying? So, like, in all honesty, I'm cards all on the table. Like, if I would have had this conversation with my 18-year-old self, you and I would not be having this same conversation the way that we are. I would be speaking from a different position. I might not have even worked at ET. I don't know. But what I am going to say is that if in fact our timelines still crossed, you would see me with the stethoscope around my neck. I can almost guarantee it. But going back to 1994, when the year that I turned 18, the only doctors were like on television. I never encountered a Black doctor. So I was like, well, I guess it's too late. If you're going to be a doctor, you'd have already been on that path, right? Even in that regards, it's important to know that even at 18, I had 18 more years to start over and I could still be a doctor. So to conceptualize that, even today, I can still be a doctor. You know what I'm saying? So time is so relative that we need to put a more gentle touch on it. I'm not pressuring my children as into what they want to be. I'm pressuring them to find out something that they like to do. And that is going to ultimately put you on the best path. Finance, it may be the best path for me. I really haven't sat down to actually judge it, but I want them to know that they don't have to take something just because they need the money. I'm here for that. Take your passion and just go with that. And ultimately, we'll figure this out together because I wish I had this path. My dad drove a truck. For 15 years of my life, I thought I was going to drive a truck until I found out that I didn't like driving too much. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, it's one of those things where just tell yourself, Walt, you can still be a doctor. And now I have that on my life. So when I get this link, I can have this look back and say that I did have that conversation with my younger self.
Cool. I like it. So, Walt,
So when we revisit this 20 years, if I'm not a doctor, something went drastically wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna call you out on it though. We'll call you out on it
Please.
if you ain't got the
Please.
doctorate for sure. But what does what does legacy mean to you?
Okay. So doing what I do, legacy does have a little bit of a difference. And I'm going to explain both viewpoints that I have, and then I'll address the latter because I'm sure that a few of your listeners may not have even considered it, and I want to make sure that it's ultimately part of their thinking moving forward because all of our legacies are intertwined. So I want to preface this by saying legacy is very important. I've come across a lot of people within my life where they say they could have just read like a news article or something, and they're like, "Oh man, I wish somebody would have given me $5,000. If I would have gotten $5,000, blah 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 blah, my life would be different." Yada yada yada, and we can't do that, and that's where the life insurance becomes important. Now, a lot of people are sort of dissuaded from getting life insurance because they think it's a scam because you don't get what you pay for and yada yada yada. Well, that's where the conversations come in about learning about all of these products. Okay, and that's where this kind of begins. So when you're able to leave behind legacy money, you immediately are changing lives, and it's splinters. It's like a tree. Like, if somebody gets 100K, then okay, they're gonna give somebody some money. Like, these things go back and forth. So ultimately, you're putting everybody in a better position, and that's the first step, is just making sure that nobody is struggling. Now, in my industry, where it's a little bit different, is that legacy is also my book of business. Okay, so like when everything is said and done, and I'm ready to retire, I can just give this book of business that's taken me years to cultivate and give it and gift it to whoever I see fit. Okay. Now, ultimately, that decision, my decision would have been to give it to my kids, but my kids are not on that path. I have one daughter that plays like 1,000 instruments, and my other daughter, she sort of takes after my scientific inquisitive. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to pass my books on to anybody in my household, but I can pass my book of business on to other people that I love and actually need this, that are already within the industry or interested in being in the industry. So that's going to be my legacy in all of this, because I don't want anyone else to have to start from the same scratch that I had to. I started with a book of one client. That client was me. Okay, I had my 401k from my other brokerage firm, which had done very well. So like when I left there and I took my brokerage my 401ks with me, I already had a solid. I had a pretty hefty client already. Let's just say that. And and then I did the same thing with my wife. I put my wife on as a client, and everything else kind of fell in play. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm still hungry. I'm still out here. I still want to talk to as many people as I can that are willing to listen. But and I think I got too broad. But ultimately, the legacy is what I have now. And I'm not gonna let this just fall to the wayside and become abandoned. No, before I go, I have to make sure that I give this to somebody to make sure that all the work that I put in stays here, stays
Like
within our community. This is my project. This is my house. I leave this to you. So when you tell your family about how you're able to afford X, Y, and Z, you tell them that Walter Greene provided that for you.
I like it. I like that a lot, sir. I like that a lot. So you said a lot. We're gonna leave off on this super high note, and I hope to have you again for part two to get more into everything. And could you just give out your email address, your social media contacts, your website, and everything else will also be. These things will also be in the description. But I just want you to hear
Oh,
from the man himself.
you, you know what? Sorry.
Fresh,
You know
yeah.
what? In all honesty, I really I don't like just I don't have that memorized. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I really don't. I'm not that guy. I don't memorize my website because I speak to people as people. I'm not a broad internet sort of person. When people contact me, I just talk to them, and so like I am active on social media, but as far as knowing all that stuff, I can give you my email address, but honestly, I'm big cards on the table. I'm an honest guy. I really don't have that stuff memorized.
I got
I'm
it.
sorry, and I should have been more prepared. You know what? Now I know. This is how we learn.
Nah, this is cool. This is cool. And guess what? That's okay because I want you to know that showing realism is more important than showing any false confidence. And that lets me know that you're a trustworthy person. And that lets the people know that you're a trustworthy person. So I just appreciate that type of honesty. And I'm gonna end it with this. I'm gonna get all his information and put it in the description for y'all to have, as he's a really dope brother that you should know. And I am Khepresh. Thank you for coming out for the Millionaires Crew Club interview. Remember, life is art, so live an artful life. One life, one love. Peace.
Peace.